everybody, and welcome back to another interview of the Healing in Nature Stories series. And today I am so excited to be chatting with Jerome Bautista, who is an entrepreneur and a co-founder of the Sacred Space Therapy and Wellness, which is based in one of the busiest cities in the world, Hong Kong. But his story started all the way in his true home, which is Hawaii. He's a certified forest therapy guide, a mindfulness and life coach, and someone who helps others find their way back to their true home within themselves, no matter where they are in the world. So,
Yes.
Jerome, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Aloha, mahalo, Clara, for inviting me.
So, Jerome, how about you just start sharing a little bit about your background and how did you transition? Been kind of all over the world.
Yeah. Where do I start here? So you mentioned like my home, Hawaii. That's kind of the place where I guess my love of Mother Nature began. Uh, Before, like I wasn't born in Hawaii. I was born on the mainland of the United States. And my father was in the military. We kind of moved around a bit. And I was a suburban kid. I didn't go out much. I played a lot of video games. So
Really?
like this, I didn't have a love of nature. Like if you told me like we wanted to go to the park or you wanted to go to, the beach, like, oh, I think I'd rather game. Yeah, so that was me. And it wasn't until I actually moved to Hawaii, which was for school, that I was actually exposed to the joy of being in nature. So when I was in Hawaii, I got to swim in her waters, surf in her waters. I got to like wander through her forests, climb the mountains, and on the ridge tops, just take a look over the Pacific Ocean. Um, and it's just doing that day after day that you just build this love of, I guess, the aina, we would call it in Hawaii. Love of the land, love of the water. And I knew that I wanted to do something to protect what I loved. So in Hawaii, I actually did quite a bit of volunteer work. I used to be a long-time volunteer at the Waikiki Aquarium, just talking to the keiki, the children, about the animals, and if they could spark like some kind of like, wow, that's so cool, then maybe like they'll want to do something or like treat the animals or treat the environment better. I used to be a part of like Surf Rider organization, Sierra Club. I did a lot of beach cleanups, whale counting, you named it. Like I had that kind of connection with the land. Um, but it wasn't until uh, around the pandemic where uh, I guess I started to disconnect from that. And I'll say that because around like the start of the pandemic, I separated from my now ex-wife,
Hmm.
and I spiraled because I was not equipped to deal with this.
Hmm.
And yeah, just those feelings of shame and guilt. I just like the house of cards that I had like carefully constructed. It was so easy to, and then everything crumbled. And so did my mind. And I fell into quite a funk, depression. Um, and while I was kind of spiraling, I would go to work, I'd put on my mask, and work. But then I was so scared to go at home because all I do is see this empty house and I just kind of crumble and cry. But at work, I took a class on emotional quotient, EQ. And
Mm-hmm.
had this conversation about what would you do to relieve stress in your life. One person mentioned, oh, meditation. And at that point, like I was still kind of, in the dark, and I was just kind of reaching for anything to help me. So I tried out meditation, and that led me to a path of healing.
Mm.
I just started meditation. I'll just try it out. Like, okay, just 1 minute. And then that 1 minute was, wow, how busy is my mind? And how cruel is my
Mm.
mind? Just to tell me, like, you're a failure, you're nobody, and this and that. But this is all I had, because I was struggling so hard. And I wouldn't reach out for help because of my pride.
Mm.
But, I just kept at it. And 1 minute became two, 2 minutes became three. And then I started to listen to some guided meditation and started to reframe how I thought about what was going on in my life. And instead of what was taken away from me, like what was actually given and what was going to teach me lessons so it helped me grow. And eventually that led me to recognize that, being vulnerable and asking for help, like that actually is a strength. And I actually sought help. I sought professional help. I saw a therapist. Um, and I started to take some courses on how to deal with shame and grief and guilt and all of that stuff to help turn my life around. So I started to do that. And so, like, again, this is during the pandemic. I had all the time in the world because I'm stuck. I'm stuck at
Yeah.
home. So actually, I'm really grateful for for the pandemic happening at that point in my life because it was a time of my transition and
Mm.
to try to like transition like the way that I thought into something where I became very grateful for all the things that have happened to me. So I continued down this route, but I was still kind of struggling with my mental health. And up until the point where like I thought everything was going great, with this, but then I had a concussion also within those couple of years, and then um, I was starting to get these weird health issues I couldn't explain.
Mm.
And eventually, like I started to burn out. And I feel that while I was still seeking help for myself, like a lot of things that were happening to me, I was going like finalizing a divorce, I was heartbroken. I was trying to heal myself. I was like working full time and doing this and doing that. I wasn't really tending to myself and to my body. And this burnout thing was just really, I didn't really know what to do with it. And I couldn't slow down. I don't know why I couldn't tell myself just slow down, man.
Mm.
But, but I just said, I just kind of thought about, well, is this how it's going to be? Is this how your life is going to be? If I continue to stay here and do the same things that I'm doing, I'm not sure it's going to change. And during the pandemic, I had taken a course on visioning and where do I see myself in the next 3 to 5 years. And I told myself that I would travel and work anywhere in the world. And as I started to fall into this burnout, I guess this seed kind of popped up again. And it just is kind of like from my stomach, you know? And it kept talking to me like, hey, do you remember this thing you told yourself you're going to do? Are you going to do it? And at this point in my life, like, hey, like I'm closing one chapter of my life. I have a good job and I have this deep love for Hawaii and all that it has provided me. And I really thought about like, I think I'm going to leave. I'm going to pursue this thing that's kind of been in me for a while. So
Mm.
I was actually traveling in one of the islands, Kauai, with my parents, and I was asking. I just kind of asked from my heart to Hawaii. I asked like, "Is it okay for me to leave?"
Mm.
And at that moment, like I can see a rainbow and I can see like a little rain. And for me, what I read was that, we're sad that you're gonna go, but go. We're
Mm.
happy for you, you know?
Oh.
So that was kind of my, okay, I'm gonna do it. So that's how I ended up traveling. I sold everything that I could. I said goodbye to everyone in Hawaii, even though I'd come back later, but I said my goodbyes and uh, I started to travel and I traveled to a lot of different places. I just told myself, whatever is going to happen is going to happen. Just trust that this is what's going to happen. That's going to be best for you. I didn't really have any kind of goal, just kind of float, you know. Um, so I did. I started in Australia and then I went to like New Zealand, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, Nepal, India. There's more in there. I just kind of traveled all around there and I met some amazing people. I met my partner trekking in New Zealand. I met her trekking there and we said our goodbyes. Like, I was going one way, she's going another, but we met back up in India. And
Mhm.
then eventually I went to Hong Kong and now here I am. But so that's me traveling. How did this whole nature forest therapy thing come about? Um, I was actually very interested in the different healing modalities of the world.
Mm.
So when I was in Nepal, I took a course on sound healing. When I was in Thailand, I took a course on Thai yoga massage. But I forget who it was. It might have been a teacher of mine. Her name is Karen, but she had mentioned something about forest therapy. And for me, I have this deep love of nature that stemmed from Hawaii. And throughout my travels, I like to be in beautiful places, visit old forests, be in the mountains. Those are the places I wanted to be because I felt that there's something very spiritual to be in there. So the whole part of being connected with nature was there. That there was a practice like this that existed in Japan, and then I thought, let's just give it a shot.
Mm.
And because I wasn't going to go back to what I was doing before, I worked in finance, and while that was great, like I'm not going to work in an office anymore. Yeah, that's the last that I think I'll be doing that. And the journey through becoming a guide, it was
Mm.
very eye-opening. I had some wonderful teachers with Geeta and Amanda.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, it really, that connection with nature and the connection to yourself. Like I wasn't really aware of that until I went through the course. Like I've spent a lot of time in mountains, trekking and hiking and being in the ocean and but this is kind of different because like when you're in the forest and you're just being, there's
Mhm.
no expectation but just to be. Yeah, and then when you do that and you're kind of connected to the present moment, uh, I think you open yourself to hearing and seeing things that you might not actually experience if you're just kind of going at this. I got to go from point A to point B. But now I'm kind of taking in the signs of the universe because I was able to slow down and connect with my heart, connect with all my senses, and allow that to kind of guide me. And um, it's a different way of healing from the
Mhm.
others that I've experienced, and I find it fascinating how as I've started to guide, seeing how people kind of connect with nature and the things that happen to them or that they start to realize occurs. And it's pretty cool that I can be the facilitator of
Mm,
that. Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess that's just kind of my story.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. It's just so packed with so much goodness. Well, first of all, you have so much courage. I think that men, especially, they are in a kind of lower space because they already starting with like this pride, like I'm a man and this is what I need to do and this is how I need to be. And there's so, I think, so much healing that men as a collective need to go through that they're struggling with. So just you being here and talking about this so vulnerably and open, I think that's already opening a door for other people who might not be there yet, but seeing you think, oh, I can do that too. I mean, there you go. He's talking about it. Look at his life. He's flipped from an office to being outside and enjoying. I could relate to your story in the beginning too, because the same thing happened to me in the beginning of the pandemic. I also went through divorce.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's why
Yeah,
we're connected.
I know, right? But I've noticed that a lot of people had that personal things going on because they spend, even though for you it happened a little bit before the pandemic, but a lot of people started spending time in homes and just like, hey, I'm not sure I like this person anymore, right? And a lot of questions have come up for me as well. So I was listening to you and I was like, yes, yes. Mm-hmm. And I still hear a lot of people who kind of stuck at that, never really healed from that, kind of past this phase and be like, okay, I'm fine, let's keep moving. But nobody like stopped to reassess what's really important for them, what they really want, really tune into their heart and what they really want and how they want to show up in the world. I'm kind of curious though, because you said you've never, when you were a kid, you were in the city, boy. Didn't want to even go to a park playing video games. So when was that switch? Do you think it's an age thing, or is there anything that happened that allowed you to really be more present?
Uh, I don't know if you've ever been to Hawaii, Clara, but
No.
once you get there and put your bare foot on the sand, the beach, or walk through the ridge line of the forest, like, yeah, that was it for me. Like getting your first tube in the water, like, it's
Oh,
magical. And the beings that I was able to be with, just like snorkeling or diving, like it's kind of scary seeing a really fat eel or some sharks that are sleeping, but it's also very cool that I'm swimming there with them and um like rainbows are like almost, you know, every week you'll see one. And I mean, I'm romanticizing about Hawaii right now because I'm living away from her, but I love her very much.
wow. Yeah, I definitely want to go visit. Definitely. It
Mhm.
just sounds like this magical world, that movie Avatar.
Avatar. Okay, yes.
So they have this like magical, beautiful, colorful world, uh, imaginary, but that's how you describe it. So I really want to go.
Mm, mm.
Ah, what's your takeaway? I'm curious because we mentioned about like being a man in this environment and connected more to your senses, connected more to your heart. What it's like in this world, and what's your encounter with like maybe other male?
Um, well, I feel that there are some men that I've encountered, and this is just random,
Mm.
but as I've traveled, like some people have gravitated towards me, and I feel like I've been a bit of a magnet for them in terms of just telling me their life story.
Hmm.
Yeah, I had this experience in Aotearoa. New Zealand, where I met a couple uh, at a hostel I was staying at, and uh, they told me I looked like their son. And so, like, while I'd see them at the hostel, I was like, "Hey, mom and dad," like, you know, but it's just to make light of that. And we said our goodbyes, and I never thought I'd see them again. But 2 cities later, I was walking down a street, and somebody called, like, "Hey, hey, hey!" And there they were, mom and dad. Yeah. So they were at a coffee shop, ordering coffee, so I decided to join them. And I sat down with my father. He just kind of starts to talk about his son and some of the regrets that he had raising his son, kind of like trying to force him to like be a certain way in the world instead of allowing him the freedom to choose his own. And I guess he felt that there was a lot of friction due to that. And
Mm-hmm.
I could kind of tell that he's almost like this is a conversation that he wanted to have with his own son. But and it's not really my business, but I just let him continue because I felt like yeah, he kind of wants to release some of this. Like he might not ever have this chance ever again. And it's a lot of energy to take in, but you know what? Like I'm probably sitting here in front of him for a reason. So I'll just take it. And so he
Yeah.
did, he shared a lot with me and it was very heartfelt and could feel kind of the sorrow in his body and his coming out. And, after that experience, we parted ways again. And personally, I went to a nearby beach and I started to cry just because I just took in so much.
Mhm.
But I guess I shared his story because for men, like, and for a lot of people, I think too, but we hold it in. Like we're not supposed to talk about our feelings or emotions, or we just don't know how because it's just not part of perhaps our culture too.
Mhm.
And maybe there's this whole like you got to be a macho man, or men are strong, like physically strong and mentally strong, meaning like we kind of push everything down. Yeah, but uh when that happens, like when our emotions want to come up, but we don't allow it to, and eventually at least for me, I cracked. Yeah, I didn't know what to do with this outpouring of emotion that I never dealt with before.
Mhm.
And so I guess for some guys that I've now took on some of these forest therapy walks, it's very awkward for them to share from the heart. Yeah. So you kind of keep it safe when you share, but I guess for me as a guide, all I can do is, I'll share from my heart and try to create this space where you might feel brave enough to share too. But I'm not trying to force people to share and whatever you're experiencing. Like again, I just really hope that they take something away from it, whatever it is that they might have been uh, expecting. I guess you came to this forest therapy guiding session for a reason, and could be for many different reasons. I don't know, but I'll just do my best so that you can connect with Mother Nature, and maybe she'll show you something.
Yeah. Yeah, so powerful. The just showing up as an example, right? It's letting go of that this responsibility of like I have to change the world, but rather
Mhm.
be like I'm gonna show up in the world the way that I believe is the best way, and then other people can kind of follow that energy. So that's so powerful and so needed. And Also, I think that sometimes people are not ready at the moment, but just by being in that experience, there's a seed that planted in their mind, and they can take it to the next level. And each encounter like that just kind of water that little seed more and more. So it's such a such a beautiful work that you're doing.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. Likewise, you are as well.
Mm, yeah. There was something I wanted to ask you, and now it got out of my brain. After I had my mental breakdown with COVID, I was working in the ICU as a nurse, and with everything was going on with the divorce, my brain was literally sh shut off. Like I had
Mm,
this brain fog where I like couldn't really function, and a lot of the things I don't remember. I just feel like I was underwater. So I still, even until this day, I think that my memory is somehow affected. Like it's as if like my brain got a hit. So a lot of the times I'm like trying to remember something, it just doesn't come up. It's
mm.
just crazy to me. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like sometimes it's even like people's names and things like that. And I'm like, am I developing early dementia or Alzheimer? Like, what is happening here? But sometimes I think it can be overwhelmed or whatever, something like a lot of things in the brain.
Mm.
Um, but oh, there is another thing because there was a lot of thing coming as you were speaking. I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much things. I love this so much. When you were sharing, like initially you were talking about how you were, traveling and exploring, just connecting. But when you became a forest therapy guide, there was this different awareness of being with the land in a different way and really tuning in. And I just thought that was really beautiful. And I was wondering if you can share more about the experiences you had with the people who join your walks and if they had kind of like shifts like that.
Mm. I will say that from some of the few walks that I've done, some of the beautiful moments that I've experienced or I've seen unfolded and got to be witness to is seeing like the inner child of someone just come out. When in the beginning you're just talking about what's going to take place, what can they expect as a participant of this forest therapy session. And I had one person just kind of say like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, whatever." Like I don't know if I can do that.
Yes.
But as we go into some of the invitations, we'll do the pop, we do the mindful walking aspect of it. I slowly start to see her really open up
Mm-hmm.
and uh, this way of being that releases kind of that adult that tells you like you shouldn't be this way in public, but like the way she was with nature and the trees and whatnot, like I can tell like she was in that liminal state and like her inner child was holding her hand and like, bring her along. Like she was having a lot of fun. And that was so great to see like that whole transition from like I'm holding on to this adult part of me to like, yeah, I'm here and I get to not have any worries. And I'm just kind of tuned into what's around me and the wonder that Mother Nature always has, but we don't tend to see it because we're not in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
Another person I just remember in one of the invitations, just how it was it was like making a friend with a tree and just how connected she was with this tree. Like, wow, she really made a friend with this tree. But like it's so cool. It's so cool
Yes.
to see. It's so cool
Oh,
to see. And one last one. When you get to uh, meet some of these people that you're guiding and they share some of their stories, and a lot of them, they're in the midst of healing. So they've gone through their own personal darkness. Maybe they're still in it. But, when we do our circle sharing, or what I like to just call it talk story, that's a phrase in Hawaii. Just kind of how being like going through the invitations, I guess she kind of figured, wow, how small are the things that like I'm wrapping my brain around. But when I take a step
Mm.
back, like, yeah, like I feel so small, or, like what am I so caught up in? So it was kind of like a freeing moment for that person. But, it doesn't happen in all of the walks. I haven't done like a lot, but enough to see where, like, yeah, it's just that reinforcement of like this work is good. Like
Yeah,
I'm helping.
yes. I'm doing something right here.
Yeah.
I'm making a difference.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's such a transformational for people in whatever level. Just the fact that they show up and prioritize their self-care because it's and it kind of goes back to your story too, how you were sharing that you were overwhelmed and you were burned out because you're not connected, you're not prioritizing yourself. You're like a robot working from one thing to another. So just the decision that needs to be made inside, like, hey, I am actually going to take this time, right? And everything else is a bonus. Whatever
Mhm.
comes out. Um, and I'm actually curious because you said that people come and they were kind of skeptical. What population do you work with usually? Which one did you guide it?
Um, I, she came from a nonprofit background, so she's a working professional, probably a social worker.
Oh,
But the social workers do good work. They're asked to
yeah.
do a lot. It's almost as if they're asked to change the world, but they have a lot of the community that they're trying to be a part of, or they're trying to affect. It's a big burden, and they're asked to do a lot, and sometimes they don't prioritize themselves. So to give them the opportunity to, like you said, uh, prioritize your self-care, even just for these few hours. Um, at least for that one person, I'm glad that she just kind of dove in and got to experience it like pretty well, I think.
Yeah, while you were speaking, something came up to me. When we are in like a healthcare professional, healthcare support, like nurses, social workers, doctors, police, all these people, right? They are here trained to help other people. But I think that a lot of the burnout come from the place where you think that the responsibility is on you and you have to do all of the things and you basically trying to help a lot of people who are not ready to be helped. So the burnout come from the fact that we don't realize that we can't help these people.
Mm.
We need to learn to be able to provide the ground, but this is on the people to take the lead. And I get like an aha moment for me for a second because I never really thought about it this way. Because as a nurse, I had this burnout of like, I'm carrying all these people. There was one time that I had hypoglycemia while I was working in a shift on the ICU. My sugar was like in the 30s. People go for coma in this sugar. And it was because I wasn't taking care of myself. I was giving insulin to my patient and trying to save them, but I'm like myself breaking down in here thinking that like, hey, I have this role I have to fulfill. I have to save all these people. Whereas what forest therapy and nature taught me is that I cannot save anybody. I can show up myself in the best way I can. I can provide you and facilitate this, but this is on you. It's on you to take this responsibility. And um, I've encountered a lot of people who don't take responsibility feeling stuck. They will feel stuck and blame the world about their problems. So if I'm getting divorced, this is their fault. If I am having a breakup, this is their fault. My child doesn't want to talk to me, this is their fault. But it's hard to look at us and be like, what did I do? This equation. It's like, what's your takeaway on that?
Yeah, as you were talking, Clara, and you're talking about this concept that seems very foreign to all of us, that in order to take others, we got to take care of ourselves first. It reminds me of where I do my sit spot,
Mm,
and I sit next to this big tree. And as I'm with my big tree, I realize how much life this tree is supporting. It has like little plants that are growing by its trunk. It got some vines that are creeping up the tree. There's birds' nest up there, and it's providing me shade and oxygen, right? But this tree needs to be like rooted in itself. It has to
mm,
be strong in order for it to support all of the other beings in its little ecosystem. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree that um, when we think about taking care of ourselves first, it sounds very selfish. Yeah. And it's only until, for a lot of us, we crash out and burn
mm,
that maybe we'll start to rethink, is this like sustainable for me?
mm-hmm,
But if we do make that realization and create intentional time for ourselves to reflect and heal, then I feel that we start to notice like, well, if I even took just a little bit of this time to maybe be quiet and still in the morning, maybe I do those workouts every three times a week or whatever, but you prioritize yourself. You're making an investment in yourself. And like the things that you do with your body, it affects your mind. The things that you help your mind do, it affects your body. Everything's connected. But yeah, I think the more time that we're able to invest in ourselves and our wellness and all different aspects of our wellness, the better we are to be ourselves and to give 100% to whatever it is that we are focused on, and 100% present for the people that we love and the people that we work with. And that, I think, being present with the people we love and the people that we work with, that can probably do a lot already, because you're showing people like I prioritize myself, and this is a valid way of living. And if I
mm,
can show you that I'm doing this, like it's almost like giving them permission, like, oh, maybe what I've been told that this is selfish, it's not true, right?
mm,
So like you live your life in this way, and maybe you can affect others just by living your life.
mm. Yeah, yeah. Um, if somebody is gonna listen to this and be like, I don't know where to start. I can't really talk about it. I don't know what to do. What would you tell them? What would be your advice to somebody who's just starting?
Um, I guess if this person was in front of me, I think the first thing I would do is just to listen. A lot of people probably have things that they want to share that they feel they cannot for whatever reason,
Mm-hmm.
and just need to get it out. So I would listen, and then I would really be able to tell. And I guess I would ask, like, well, do you want me to just listen, or would you like for me to share some advice or whatnot? It just depends on what they want to do. Because of course, I do forest therapy, I do coaching, I do this and that, but it's not for everyone. But the way you can heal, or a spiritual path, like there's many ways.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of whatever fits you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You just try it, and I guess stick with it. I guess anything in life, right? Like, okay, like you gotta give it a good shot for a month, and if it's not working, then move on to the next thing. But
Mm,
but
yeah.
like just once you've decided, I think we talked about this a little bit a while ago, but once you decide, um, like put all your heart into it, give it a real shot. Yeah.
Mm,
I'm a big believer in this Paulo Coelho quote. And once you want something, like everything in the universe conspires to help you to achieve it. But it's only, I feel like only when you want something, it's with your whole heart. You can't go half-hearted. Then you won't see
yeah.
this. The universe might not be there to help you. You won't see everything. But if you give your all into it, you'll start to see like things are moving in your way. And I've
Yeah.
happened to see it in my own life many times. So yeah.
Yeah. It's like not just saying like, oh, I'm just gonna try it out if it's gonna work out. Like when you say I'm gonna be just trying it out, it's already putting yourself into failure.
Mm.
So it sounds like say I am going to do this and mold or change as I go, because then you at least making a path forward. Because if you say, ah, I'm just gonna try it, that's kind of like, ah, I'll just gonna throw this in a month, so just to say I did it. So it's about the intention. So it's so powerful how you said that. Do this full-hearted and do something. Just keep doing it. Keep
Yeah.
doing it, right? Keep doing whatever you chose to do. Stick to it and adjust accordingly. Um, and then find somebody who can listen to you, really listen without judgment,
Yeah.
right? That sound,
It's kind of rare in the world, to be honest. But
yeah.
my teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, says like listening is a form of love.
Mm, that's beautiful. Love it. Yeah. Mm. Okay, well, Jerome, thank you so much for being here and sharing your amazing story. There's so much goodness in it and so
Mhm.
much inspiration. And I'm really hoping that this will land for the people who need to hear it. They need this like kick in the butt a little bit so they can start moving forward and see what is available for them and explore this beautiful world we have.
Yeah. Big mahalo to you, Clara.
Um,
Great pleasure to connect with fellow force therapy guides and just good people in general.
yeah, thank you. Bye.